September 24th, 2024 tax rate hearing. If we could have a roll call, please.
Director Asner.
Here.
Director Moeller.
Here.
Director Sartorius.
Here.
Director Suda.
Here.
Director
Here.
Vice President Cuneo.
Here.
President Patra.
Here. Do I have a motion for 2.1 on the agenda, tax rate for the FY25 presentation?
Motion by Suda.
Second.
Do we need a motion today for this?
We're gonna, no,
I think we're voting on it.
Information item.
This is for-
you're right. You're right. Thank you. So if you want to
Hey, wait a minute.
come on up and
Good evening, President Potroff, Board of Directors, Dr. Macklin. I'm Cindy Ryleman, Chief Financial Officer, and tonight I'm presenting on the setting the tax rate for the tax rate hearing. State statute requires that Missouri school districts set their tax rate by October 1st every year. There are two tax rates that are set. One is the operating tax rate for operating expenses, and the other is the debt service tax rate, which pays for principal and interest regarding any general bonded indebtedness that might have occurred. Special school district does not have a debt service tax rate, so we'll only primarily be discussing the operating tax rate tonight. State statute also requires that we have a hearing on our tax rate. We must hold the hearing for the public, for them to present and ask questions should they want to. And the notice, which is a sample of what we posted in our buildings, has to be posted prior to the hearing 7 days and in 3 public places. So we have chosen our school locations as well as online and the central office. The information that's required to be presented at each tax rate hearing includes assessed valuation data, anticipated revenue information, proposed tax rates by fund, as well as any revenue that's coming from new construction or reassessment. Just a reminder, 2024 is a non-reassessment year. This slide identifies our tax levy process. We review our prior year calculation, as well as collect data from our county assessor's office and county collector's office by September 15th every year. We publicize our hearing. We submit our tax rate to the Missouri State Auditor's Office so that they can review our tax rate calculation. We hold our hearing and set our tax rate. That's why we are here tonight. Then we will submit our tax rate to the St. Louis County Clerk as well as the Jefferson County Clerk because we have property in both of those counties. And then the county clerks from those counties will submit our tax rate to the State Auditor's Office for certification. I just wanted to note that there was a concern that the St. Louis County would not be mailing out tax bills. However, due to the various advocacy efforts, the St. Louis County did pass a supplemental bill, and they will be mailing out the tax bills this year. Next is the Missouri Hancock Amendment. It requires school districts to roll back their tax rate should they have a significant increase in their tax rate. And we are also limited to the revenue produced as a calculation of lesser of the CPI or 5%. The CPI is certified by the State Auditor's Office. It's also indicated on the State Auditor's tax rate calculator, which the snippet is included here for your reference. And that CPI for 2024 was 3.4%. So 3.4% is less than 5%. So that's what the revenue is capped at. If our district was to have significant decrease in assessed valuation, we would have the opportunity to roll up our tax rate to the district's maximum authorized levy. This slide shows the various information of assessed valuation by category. So at the top in the blue box, we start with our St. Louis County assessed valuation information comparing fiscal year 23-24 to 24-25, as well as our Jefferson County assessed valuation for those same years indicated. The second box is our combined county assessed valuation less any TIF, tax increment financing instances that might be happening in the county. Those TIFs are only in St. Louis County at this moment in time, but we have to take out those TIFs, reduce our assessed valuation by them to determine our amount that our calculation is actually calculated upon. And the final box just compares the prior year amounts by category of assessed valuation to the current year assessed valuation categories. And then you can see the dollar change and percentage change between the years. And then the pie graph to the right just includes and lets you know kind of by percentage what our assessed valuation is by category and property class. Next, we'll talk about the change in revenue. So we take our assessed valuation and we look at that percentage of calculation for our new revenue that's going to be generated. So you can see that we compare our prior year collections by category, assessed valuation category, to our 24-25 tax year collections as well. So we are estimating and projecting a $4.1 million increase from the prior year to the current year, which is 1.26% change. Also, I've included the change in the single rate. So our rate for 23-24 was 0.9616 cents. And our current proposed rate for 24-25 is 0.9648 cents. And then in the blue box below that is the new revenue generated, and that is due to mostly the new construction amount as a result of our increased assessed valuation. This slide illustrates our chart graph, just comparing our assessed valuation over time to our tax rate and what has happened as each assessed valuation either has gone down or up, what's our tax rate done as well. So most districts in St. Louis County use a multi-rate tax system. That means they calculate a tax rate by category, by residential, commercial, agricultural, and personal property. However, Special School District has assessed valuation located in Jefferson County. Jefferson County opted to do a single rate calculation. So Special School District has gone with the single rate calculation. So we don't have to calculate the 4 rates like many of the other St. Louis County school districts do. Didn't know if that would be new information to you or not, but
Didn't know that.
I wanted to point that out. So this slide shows our proposed tax rate for calendar year 2024 for fiscal year 25 for school district. And it is by fund. So we're comparing the prior year tax rate by fund to the current year proposed tax rate by fund. So we are proposing the general incidental fund to have a tax rate of 0.48 cents, special revenue teachers fund to have a proposed tax rate of 0.4648 cents, and a capital projects fund to have a tax rate of 0.02 cents for a total of 0.9648 cents total levy for 2024. I also included the calculation that we submitted to the state auditor's office. It's the pro forma of that calculation showing the same information of the 0.9648 calculation for our current year tax rate ceiling. Taking our assessed valuations and turning them into our estimated tax rate calculations and collections as on a revenue perspective. We showed again the tax rate by fund, and then we show that by revenues by fund. And so we're comparing what the estimated tax revenue is by fund on that tax rate at a 96.5% collection rate. And then we compare it to what is budgeted as revenue in the fiscal year 25 budget. So you can see between that, it's a slight increase of $320,257 more than what is currently budgeted in our budget. Now I wanted to show an impact on a homeowner. And so we're going to focus on the residential real estate percentage, which is 19%. And so taxes are paid by homeowners on a per $100 of assessed valuation. And so I wanted to actually go through a calculation for the benefit of the board as well as for our audience, members in the audience. And so I went out and we found what our an average house in our county is, and that's around $300,000. So I used that in this calculation. So if the fair market value of a home is $300,000, we're going to multiply that by the 19% residential rate that we had on the previous slide. That gives us our assessed valuation, which in this calculation is $57,000. Remember, I said taxes are paid on a per $100 of assessed valuation. So that $57,000 gets divided by 100, and that's 570. So the total tax rate is applied to that $570. So when we take 570 of assessed value times our proposed tax rate of 0.9648 cents, that amount is $549.94, which would be owed by a homeowner. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 190. This was passed in the 2023 legislative session by the General Assembly and then signed by Governor Parson. Soon after that, St. Louis County also enacted a similar property tax freeze for seniors. So this is the senior property tax freeze. Senate Bill 190 was not clear in a lot of areas. So Senate Bill 756 was passed to clarify some of the confusion that was contained within Senate Bill 190. And so I'll let you read the slide. What I really want to highlight is the fact that we are 18, 19, 20 months in after the General Assembly passed this legislative bill. And we really don't know anything. So there's not much of a process. We don't know how many homeowners it's going to affect. We don't know how many meet the age requirement, how many meet the housing dollar amount requirement. And so there's so many factors that are unknown still about this Senate bill and the property tax for seniors that we truly don't know the fiscal impact that these Senate bills are going to have on our St. Louis County districts or special school district itself. So more to come, hopefully some more information, but I really just wanted to highlight that the fiscal impact of this is still unknown. In summary, this is a 2024 is a non-reassessment year. Assessed values increased on average by 0.92%. Additional revenue is coming from new construction. And administration is recommending that the special school district approve the levy as follows for an operating fund of 0.9648 cents. Again, we do not have a debt service fund, so there's no rate for that, for a total tax rate of 0.9648 cents. I would also like to acknowledge Steve Stevens, who is in my department, who's very instrumental in these calculations, sending the information to the state auditor's office for review and just helping make sure that this process continues along. So I wanted to thank Steve for his part in this. And then I will open it up for any questions.
Did you have any? I had one, just, there was an acronym CPI.
Consumer Price Index. I am sorry, I should have spelled that out. Consumer Price Index.
Any other questions or concerns? All right.
Just-
Oh, well,
Just stated very bluntly, are we asking for the highest increase that we can ask for, given the current home valuations and our levy rate from last year?
So the highest rate, so technically it's called a tax rate ceiling, and that's what this calculation calculates. So yes, we are asking for a tax rate at the highest calculated tax rate ceiling that has been calculated.
Thank you.
Yes.
any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we didn't have anyone sign up for public comments for the tax rate hearing, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Nobody get up. We have one more meeting. I'd like to call to order our Tuesday, September 24th business meeting. Could we all stand for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could do roll call again?
Director Ag.
Here.
Director Mueller.
Here.
Director Sartorius.
Here.
Director Studa.
Here.
Director Staton.
Here.
Vice President Cuneo.
Here.
President Potter.
Here. Thank you. First on our agenda, we have a 2.01, the Missouri Retired Teachers Association, MRTA grant recipients.
Good evening, President Petrov, Board of Education, Dr. Macklin. I'm Jennifer Henry, the Chief Communications Officer for SSD. And tonight I have the honor of introducing our representatives from the Missouri Retired Teachers Association here to present many grants that they are awarding this year.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Bonnie Kramer. I'm with the SSD Suburban Unit of Missouri Retired Teachers Association. Our association has what's called Missouri Retired Teachers Foundation that gives away $500 grants all over the state of Missouri every year. And this year we are honored to have 3 of our recipients here tonight. One of them is receiving a $500 grant from MRTF, but we ourselves have our own unit. We have our own grants that we give out. They're called the Patty Dean Fund. And I was going to read you just a short synopsis of how that fund came about. But we have 2 winners from that fund also. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Whoops. Okay, here's just a short synopsis. The Patty Dean Memorial Classroom Grant Fund was set up by Patty Dean's husband, Larry, after she passed away in 2015 from terminal cancer. Patty Dean was a lobbyist for special education, as well as a parent of a special needs child. Initial funding of the grant came from the MRTA Board of Directors as a generous gesture to Larry, who had worked with their association for a decade, providing insurance-related benefits for their members. Additional funding came from Forrest T. Jones and Company, Larry's employer. Rather than having the collected funds given directly to MRTF, Larry requested that MRTF permit the funds to be given to Special Education Unit of MRTA, located in St. Louis. Therefore, the fundamentals were established and the St. Louis Special Education Unit of St. Louis, now SSD Suburban, accepted the challenge of helping to raise funds annually. So these are ones that are giving out every year to perpetuate the Patty Dean Memorial Grant Fund. This grant money goes to qualifying special education teachers and staff in St. Louis County who need help in funding educational materials, projects for their special needs students. So right now I'd like to recognize 2 of our grant recipients, Amanda Wise and Hannah Smiles. Would you come up, please? I would like to have them just say a little bit about what how they were going to use their grants. We'll let them come first.
Good evening, I'm Amanda Wise. I am the elementary math interventionist at Lexinger School. We are using the grant to provide motivation and reinforcers for students who complete lessons on our online platform.
I'm Hannah Smiles. I'm an occupational therapist in the Hazelwood School District. I work at 2 elementary schools and a high school, and I'll be doing a tier-based sensory program to support students' participation and performance at all 3 levels. So gen ed, resource, and essential skills. So across the whole board, providing students with what they need so that they can stay in the least restrictive environment. Thanks.
The recipient of our MRTF grant is Deborah Bear. Could she come forward, please, now?
Hello, I'm Deborah Bear. I'm a registered behavior technician at Westchester Elementary in Kirkwood. And my grant is to provide independent workstations, task boxes, and sensory tools to help our students become independent even at a very young age. We work with age K through 5. You love us.
We love you. No, I want them. Where are my pencils this year?
We need pencils. Well, I got pencils.
You always gave us pencils. Oh, I hope the pencil.
I promise I'll bring them next year.
Dr. Adler, can you take one small step? There you go. All right. Right here. All right.
Is Mr. Dean here today? What? No, I'm like kidding you. I didn't see that. No. Well, the
Mr.
gentleman-
Dean?
Yes.
Oh, he was, well, I was remiss in inviting him this year. I totally forgot.
He was here last year.
Yeah,
That's
he was
right.
here last
Very,
year,
very
and
gracious
that's why I
man.
read
He's
the-
very
the
gracious.
History, yes, he is. He's a very
Very
sweet man.
gracious.
But he's in Kansas City for the long.
Give me some.
Thank you.
That's really, that's a really nice. Yeah, that's not mine too. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much to the MRTA and congratulations to to the winners of their grants.
Thank you for having us.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is 3.01 public comment. Mr. Eby, if you want to come on up and I will read what you could probably also recite by now. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education Special School District. Up to 30 minutes of this meeting will be set aside to hear public comments. The Board of Education values your input and thanks you for your comment. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address any item that is legitimate part of the business of the board, so that as many different people as possible may speak. Time limits will be strictly observed. Unused time will not be yielded to other speakers. Speakers will be invited to the microphone in the order in which they appear. The sign-in sheet and any written material submitted to the board secretary will become part of the official record of the meeting.
Thank you, President Petrov, Vice President Cuneo, Dr. Macklin, members of the board. My name is Tim Eby. I'm the Executive Director of the Special Education Foundation, and I need to get some of those big checks like that. Because what I'm sharing with you is that we have been giving money away. And tonight I want to share with you our Women Leaders Principal Grants that a group of women that are volunteers and some board members, others members of the community that are members of this group that help us both raise money but also give money away, met with the principals from the SSD schools, the 5 SSD schools, plus Bridges and JDC. And they met in early September, thanks to Kelly Grigsby for setting that meeting up, and awarded $12,000 in funding to those schools. $2,000 went to Ackerman School for the end of the year school celebration, which happens on May 22nd, 2025. $2,000 to Northview to purchase 150 yearbooks for students. So the students won't have to pay for those yearbooks this year, which I think is outstanding. $800 to Litzinger School to purchase the spring shirts for the state assessment day. Plus, through our Arts in the Classroom program, we'll be providing a $1,000 grant to bring the Afriki Lolo drum and dance troupe to Litzinger coming up later this school year. New Owner High School will receive $1,200 to purchase a bubble wall for the school. Southview School received a $2,000 grant for school-wide t-shirts and funds for an end-of-the-year celebration. JDC, the Juvenile Detention Center, received $1,500 for new school branding and customized school apparel and gear. And I think you're going to hear a little bit more about that, I think, in this meeting. And we awarded $1,500 to the Bridges program for a 3D printer and boxes for each student and supplies. And we also will donate weighted blankets from some of our volunteers that put together those weighted blankets. The funds for these grants came from last year's Starfish Awards event and additional donations to the Special Education Foundation. So we're very proud with that. One final note I just wanted to share with you, we're in the midst of our final planning for our 22nd annual charity golf tournament and hope to see as many of you there. The event is on Monday, October 14th at Norwood Hills Country Club. Dr. Cuneo has a tendency to hit people on the golf course, so you got to be careful about that. But we'll be on the lookout for him.
Then
But
you're going to let me drive this.
but as part of this year's tournament, we're trying something new, and I just wanted to pass these around to you actually on the other side of that sheet, Dr. Sartorius. Remember those entertainment books that you would always forget at home when you needed those coupons to use? Well, they've gone virtual, and we're using this company called Vertical Rays, and you can download an app for $25 and get discounts to all over the place. There's a number of ice cream places that I find it extremely valuable at. And so if you would like to purchase one of those proceeds will go into our classroom innovation grants that we award for teachers. So thank you so much for what you do, and thanks for all your support of SEF.
Thank you.
Mr. Eby, before you leave, you have always been very impressed. What I would like, is there a possibility of everything that you have just told us where those grants are from at the golf tournament? Could that be up on a sign so that people could see all the good that is being done?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I
think that's a great idea.
I'm always good at getting other people to work.
I love it. No, thank you. It's great. Thank you.
One more question. I'm sorry. I know we don't typically ask our public speakers questions, but what is a bubble wall?
Do we have a teacher or a principal in the room that might be able to? A bubble wall.
Oh, wait, you gotta.
Come on up to the mic so they can hear you. So the thousands
Thank you,
listening
Principal
online
Russ.
can hear you. Thank you. Principal Russ.
Certainly hate to speak on behalf of another school, but I would expect that it's a sensory wall that's probably made of marbles and is backlit. And so students with sensory impairments who may need to access some alternative sensory supports could access that in the hallway. So that's what I would expect it to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, 4.01, would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
5.01 Superintendent Report, we have the Human Resource Department.
Do we need to vote?
I told you, you'd have to remind me. All in favor for 4.01 approval of the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, 5.01 Human Resource Department update.
Good evening, President Patroff, Vice President Cuneo, Board Directors, Superintendent Macklin, community members present with us and with us on live stream. I am Dr. Katina Lyles, the Chief Human Resources Officer, and it's my pleasure to come before you this evening, to provide an update on human resources. This works. What you see is our organizational chart. And I'm actually happy to start by introducing you to some of the members of the department who are here this evening as a support. I'll start with our first rung over there with Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly is the Director of Talent Acquisition and Development. And with him, he has Lashana Moffitt. She is one of our hiring managers. We also have from our Insurance and Benefits Department, our Director, Brenda Dooley Artis. And with Brenda, she also has Terry Wertman. And Terry is our benefits analyst, and Shannon Agnew. And Shannon Agnew is a benefits specialist. So thank you for being here to support this evening. So this outline kind of shows who does what in HR. And so the talent and acquisition arm is first up. And in HR, they support from the time we post a job all the way through an individual separates from the district through retirement, for example. When an individual is on board, as you can see at the top of the slide, we support with things like background checks, job postings, contracts, student teachers, subs, and all of the technology systems that go into supporting each of those tasks that you see listed. This particular slide outlines the clerks that are in our Human Resources Department. And as you can see, they do a tremendous amount of work. They support with things like certification, unemployment claims, and the screening of applicants. In the insurance and benefits arm, we support once staff are onboarded and all the way through retirees as well. They cover eligibility and enrollment for health and welfare benefits plans, as well as workers' compensation. So what has been happening in talent acquisition and those developmental updates? So look at these numbers. We have supported the integration of 509 employees across St. Louis County in various roles since July 1. That includes 26 retirees, recent retirees that have returned to support our students under critical shortage. In addition, we have hosted 48 in-person onboarding sessions. And in those onboarding sessions, we cover things like benefits, payroll, the history of SSD, which is all very, very important to getting to a good start. We also have screened more than 1,200 applicants in that timeline. And we have had over 200 at this point tuition reimbursement applications pre-approved. And I say pre-approved because those will be paid out in October. So can't tell you post-approval just yet. Under the umbrella of insurance and benefits, this next slide represents some of our utilization for insurance and benefits. So as you can see, under medical utilization, we had 317 staff accessing Ask Emma in the calendar year of 2023 and 34 in the first half of this year. So Ask Emma is an artificial intelligence that helps support staff in selecting the proper benefits for them and their family. We are moving into the open enrollment season next month, so that is why you see 34 versus maybe more, but we fully anticipate that staff will access it at least at the rate they did in 2023. We also have Care ATC or Care at the Center. I have heard nothing but positive things about Care ATC, nothing negative. You can get a quick appointment. A teacher can get an appointment in that office potentially during their plan time, go get taken care of and seen by a physician, a primary care physician, and walk out with the medication they need. Same day. For free. Oh yes, thank you, for free. So we implemented the last quarter of last year at 713 visits, and then the first 2 quarters of this year, we are at 1,800. They also provide mental health care providers. So that is a huge benefit. And looking at prescription drugs, I would highlight a couple of things like the Omnipod and chronic pain management. That Omnipod has that time release pump for diabetics, allowing them the opportunity to manage. And the chronic pain management, if you think about that from the perspective of when you are prescribed opioids, we're looking at the support around understanding that education around it and then supporting staff or members in utilization of opioids appropriately, because as you know, that could be an issue. I would also like to highlight that we began offering adult orthodontics this year. Starting in January, we have 49 members that are accessing adult orthodontics. And the voluntary plans, if you look at the supplemental health benefits, that is like Aflac. So the employee enrolls by choice if they want to access those enhancements. And it's no impact on the district, but they're paid out directly as a result of maybe accessing emergency care or something that falls under the umbrella of critical illness, hospital indemnity, or accident. And of course, we have pet insurance. Who does not love pet insurance? Our 185 members do that have been utilizing it this year so far. What questions do you have?
So what's the cost of the district for the pet insurance?
Cost of the district for pet insurance. I do not know that off the top of my head. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say Brenda might know, but I'll make a note.
Any other?
Yeah. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation today. But I would like to thank you and all the other individuals that spoke last night. I thought you were very succinct. I thought the information was important, and I thought you all did a good job. In fact, a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, like, I'm really excited about the Ask Emma. Who has struggled with trying to decide what health insurance I'm supposed to have.
Yes.
So that I'm really excited about that. And I hope you all share with staff members, like, you can use this before making your decision, because
Absolutely.
you know, you get to put all kinds of scenarios in there.
Absolutely. You do get to put in scenarios for Ask Emma. That artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I also have heard amazing things about the CARE ATC. Oh, I woke up with a sore throat, was able to get seen, you know, just hands down the best thing they've ever, it was so easy and convenient because there's different locations.
Yes.
I think
Hoping we can
Dr.
double
Lyles,
access.
Dr. Lyles and Jen Henry are probably the two biggest spokespersons for CARE ATC. So
Brenda's department as well.
they'll-
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
they'll guide you in the right direction if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I do see here, Dr. Lyles, just the increase in utilization of the weight loss medication. I know that there'll be a presentation on the 22nd of October regarding those pieces, but any comments on that, thoughts on those pieces tonight?
Well, we do share that it has the potential, you know, to improve the health of those with comorbidities. I think that's a key piece. So as you can see, the utilization went from 258 to 488.
Now, does that, they have to have a comorbidity to get involved in that program?
They do not.
Ouch.
Thank you.
Could get pretty expensive.
And we will talk more about that on
I'm sure we'll see those numbers on the 22nd.
October 22nd.
Right.
A big topic.
Good topics.
It's $1,000 a year forever. $1,000 a month forever.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lyles.
Thank you.
Once you get over it.
Next on our superintendent report, we have the lead administrative assistant update.
Evening. Sure. Right. Good evening, President Patra, Board of Directors, Dr. Macklin. I am Molly Bolton. I am the Chief of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability. And with me this evening, I have Val Eckert, who is one of our lead admin assistants. Frenchie Turner is also our other lead admin assistant, but could not be here due to family obligations. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is to give you an update on the work that has been completed by the lead admin assistant positions, and then kind of next steps planning going forward. When this position was approved, it was approved for 3 years. And this is our 3rd year. So this will be our final year with this position. So just wanted to make sure you had an update. So as we looked at this position, and the purpose around approving it was really we had a lot of new administrative assistants coming on. And there was not really a formalized process for onboarding. So this role was really charged with providing training, which really looks like one-on-one mentoring and sitting next to new admin assistants to onboard them. But also a lot of work has been put in around developing a training manual.
which Val will talk about a little bit later. And then monthly training modules, as well as they are pretty much the primary contacts for our admin assistants when they have questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Val to talk to you a little bit about the work that's been done.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you. So glad to see everyone. So I'm Val Ecker. This is my 13th year with the district. I've been fortunate enough the entire time to work with the wonderful Alan Wheat. This last year, we've been fortunate enough to have Molly kind of take us on as our structure maker, if you will. So we've made a lot of really great progress. So we just want to kind of share with some of our updates that we've completed over the past year. We have provided mentoring and support for 20 new administrative assistants. And if you aren't aware, a lot of those assistants are no longer housed here at central office. They are now out in their partner districts to kind of help build on our relationships and kind of get them closer to their staff and their students. So that's required us to travel across the county, which has been really wonderful to help engage people that don't have the one-on-one interactions with central office staff anymore. We are always kind of on call for any phone calls or emails, but when a person comes on as a new employee, we get them set up with their technology access. We spend many of hours with them just kind of going through each of the systems. And there's a few quotes here that Molly obtained from some of the folks that we worked with over the past, really it's just the past year that we had asked input from, because those are kind of the most critical. We did host our first administrative kickoff event for support staff, and that's the first one, at least in the 13 years I've been with the district, that we've had for just secretaries and clerks and people who assist all of these great people to get together and just kind of go over process updates for the district, introduce new staff to the district, and kind of do some community building events. And Dr. Macklin was wonderful in having all of the leadership team come to the event, and that was really well received from administrative assistants to see their leadership there, and they were able to ask questions and just kind of interact with them, especially for those that aren't here on a daily basis. We did also have the CESPA representative come and speak and hand out materials to staff as well. And like I said, we provided some just general updates to everyone so that we all have the same communication. Next steps, succession. That's Molly's going to take that over for us.
I'm going to back up just a few slides because I think Val missed this one, which shows a lot of the work that they've done.
The big one.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Okay. I think it was going too fast. Okay. So some of our work, we have to date completed 32 out of 54 process walkthroughs, and that's a step-by-step guide with visual aids showing start to finish a lot of the things that we do as support staff that people have often done differently. And so you might not always get the same outcome or the same result. So now we've documented those processes. And like you see, we're kind of winding down on those major aspects. We, with the help of communications, now have our own site on the gateway, similar to the teachers hub and the administrative hub and the para hub. We now have one for administrative assistants, where we are posting these materials once they've been vetted and approved. We are obviously doing still ongoing support and mentoring for new hires. We held the kickoff meeting. We're hosting monthly coffee hours via Zoom for those that can't come to our building or the Learning Center, just so that they have an opportunity to connect with some of their colleagues. Quarterly trainings, we've kind of set up a schedule for those based on feedback that we had given out to support staff. Some of those training topics may have to shift a bit just because we are going to be in the process of upgrading some of our software systems, but those are still on track. We also have a Teams site for our administrative assistants, and that there we post all of our resources, but people also have the ability to like live chat with people across the district to ask a question if I myself am not available or Frenchie's not available or they don't have another support person in their building. That provides kind of like a real-time answer for them. Great. Now you can go. Thanks, Valerie.
All right, so I'm going to take us back to kind of some, oops, now look at me, I'm click happy. There we go. Next steps. So next steps is we are going to complete those few quick start cards that still need to be completed so that all the processes are documented. And we have developed a committee of several different administrative assistants across the county. And we are working to develop an onboarding checklist similar to what we did and presented to you a while back with our paraprofessionals to ensure as this role fades that our lead secretaries when we think of director secretaries or executive leadership secretaries, then as new admin assistants come on board, they'll be able to do this onboarding process and it will be systematic. And folks will get kind of a standardized introduction. They will also get the tailored introduction, the tailor pieces they need, but we want that standardized piece there. We then will also develop a training for a lot of the mostly operational department lead admin assistants there. For example, the admin assistant over purchasing, so that if changes are made in purchasing processes, then it would be their job to update those processes and put them on that team drive and put them on the gateway. So really just trying to develop some processes so that this all stays up to date and folks get the supports that they need. So now we'll open it up for what questions you might have.
Yeah, I remember when this position started, it was at that time one of the big issues was that they had talked about needing a manual. What was happening, it appeared that there was not an institutional knowledge being passed from one set to another.
Correct.
And that was why, if I remember that meeting, that this position was started and it was time limited. Has the manual been developed, or how is this going to work after next year?
Correct. So that is those quick start cards that are being developed and are being posted to Gateway as well as the Teams Drive. So those processes are there. And then having the onboarding checklist and having the process for those departments to update their processes will be how we maintain those pieces.
How will that be kept up to date?
So that's why we're training those specific admin assistants in those operation departments, and that will be their job whenever a process changes to update that information and get it posted.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And sorry, real quickly, the committee that we've also formed with this group of administrative assistants across the district, that is kind of the task of the committee, is to all of the resources that Frenchie and I have compiled and put together, helping us make that into a manual that makes sense to everybody, no matter what your role will be. So that's also where that's going to be coming from.
And one thing that has come out of that committee too, that we are considering, is the need for a steering committee, especially for the ongoing trainings. And so we are anticipating keeping that committee and meeting a few times a year, just so we have a good pulse on, are we meeting the needs of everyone? Is there information up there that's not updated that we need to, kind of a checks and balances? Is there information we need to update that we will then follow up with and make sure those things get updated? And then what are the training needs? And so we ensure we're offering those professional learning opportunities to keep our admin assistants skills where they need to be and enhance them. Any other questions?
I do want to publicly thank Val and Frenchie for their hard work over the last 3 years, and I think that it should definitely be commended in additional duties. And I know this is their first year and with Dr. Bolton, so I appreciate the effort that has went into ensuring that really we're establishing systems for all of our admins to be successful.
Thank you.
Wait,
Oh, go ahead. No,
sorry.
please.
So in the past 3 years, you've had an admin kickoff and coffee hours and the quarterly training. Will those continue? Or are those yearly things?
So that will be part of that steering committee.
Okay.
I'm not so sure about the coffee hours, but definitely the admin assistant kickoff. We plan to do that. It's kind of like a back to school hurrah, and also a great place for them to get updates
Right.
all in the same place.
That makes sense.
And make connections and community. That's really important to us. They did such a fantastic job of doing a community building activity because as Val said, many of those folks are out in the partner districts. So they don't necessarily have that connection and community. And we know how our convocation made our staff feel, coming together and uniting. And this was a way to do that with that small subgroup and help them make connections as well. So that, oh, I email you all the time. Now I can put the face and the name together and those sorts of things.
So that will continue.
Yes.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. Thank you for the presentation. How many people are in the role in the district?
How many people do we have for
How many
admin assistants?
I'm sorry?
How many admin assistants do we have?
Yes,
135.
135. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So good participation with 89 people at your kickoff.
That, well, and so all of those people that we have invited, thank you. Of those that were all invited, we didn't want to leave people out, but some didn't attend or participate because they truly got like permission from their supervisor, kind of like our student data department. They do no attendance. They don't do anything with people clocking in or out or worrying about, the stuff that a lot of us do. So that's a portion of those people kind of were excused by purpose. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on our superintendent report, 5.03, we have the extended school year, otherwise known as ESY, and the summer programs update.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Potroff, President Potroff, Vice President Dr. Cuneo, Board of Directors, and Dr. Macklin. I am Wendy Pendergrass, Chief Compliance Officer, and obviously passing out doctoral degrees this evening. Yes, so it is that time of year for my extended school year and summer program update. So what we will do this evening is cover the outcomes of both what is truly extended school year and the district's responsibility compared to the summer programs that was started several years ago. So summary of our summer salary updates, the teacher level, for this year, we added RBTs, teacher assistants and nurses. We had 1,671 applications. So we had plenty of applications. I am happy to report. So what is extended school year? So it is an IDEA requirement. It allows students needing special education services to maintain their goals or their progress on their goals over summer. It is an IEP team decision. It is funded solely by the district. The only part of the district that receives any kind of funding for extended school year would be early childhood. Not all students that receive special education services qualify for ESY. It is an IEP team decision. The next couple of slides will reflect basically what our numbers are for those students that are eligible when IEPs are held throughout the school year 23-24, those that enrolled. So in about February, March, we send out letters to our families of those students that have qualified for extended school year and see if they're going to be participating in extended school year. So that is the enrolled column. And then of course, those that actually attended the services for ESY. So that is the first half of the district. And the second. And then our SSD schools and programs, including purchase of service. This year at Bridges, we did not have any children that qualified for extended school year, so none participated. For ESY, we had 395 students in our SSD schools. We had 90 teachers, support staff for paraprofessionals, related service and nurses. Partner school district roughly had about 1,823 students. And 185 staff, 485 split between registered behavior technicians and paraprofessionals. And then of course, our related services and nurses. Cost to the district was roughly $2,508,000 for extended school year.
Everybody.
Now let's talk about summer programs. For those of you that were present during the wonderful idea of universal summer supports, that's what we originally called it. So Universal, or what we refer to as USS, was created for a temporary support as we were coming out of COVID. So the community was recovering from COVID. We were recovering from the schools being closed. We wanted to provide an opportunity for our students to get back into school, get into the routines, and kind of continue that process. So in the partner districts, what was decided is that we hired our special education staff to as a supplemental partner to the school district. So we provided staffing that we paid for into our partner districts to help our students access their programs. In our SSD schools, we received enrichment funds or enrichment learning activities that were also provided by Summer Journey, which was the program that we wound up purchasing. The district up until this point in this year used ESSER funds to offset the cost for all of our staff and supplies during the summer programs. After the 2024, 2025 ESSER funds will no longer be available to offset the cost. So of those students that participated in our summer programs, they are as followed. For the SSD schools broken down. Also with the partner districts, I did want to provide an asterisk. We have not asked or typically asked for our students to be identified as they attend the summer programs in the partner districts of those that have an IEP. So I do not have the total amount accurate of what students participated in the summer programs. However, I do have the staff that we hired for those summer programs and the paraprofessionals. The total of that program was $831,000. So general survey results, the positives, I can say when I started doing this presentation years ago, communication was a problem. Communication is less than a problem. We are still, we receive a lot more positive feedback. One thing that I can tell you about communication and what we are finding is that in some of our districts, we do not have the power to have them tell us the dates that they're going to open their summer programs, they're going to open their summer buildings, they're going to open our summer schools. Those families are left kind of waiting. As soon as we find out, we make the announcements. This is when summer programs are, this is when the school is going to be open. But those of you that have students or know students that participate in summer camps or other summer programs, the rates and the acceptance fill up very quickly. So families sometimes have other means of providing summer activities rather than going to ESY or the summer school. Transportation has been very positive. We had, I know the Board of Education likes feedback. We had 270 families respond to the survey. But overall, the information was very positive towards both ESY and summer programs. The last slide will show just basically a comparison of ESY and the summer program. So what is actually required by law and what is optional. What questions may you have?
My question is just about, and I think I mentioned this last year, when looking at the feedback we look at the number of students who participated and the number of family surveys, it's like 12%. It's just like, what can we do to get more family feedback? Because 12% just is not that great of population, right?
I would like to have more families participate. Yes. We have thought as moving forward, what were some things that we could do in the future? Making sure that we're sending it out to poignant families, making sure we're getting the surveys out and have them answer actually ESY and summer programs. What are they participating in? How are they participating in? For those families that are not sending their students or do not send back the enrollment packets, how can we collect that data for why they're not sending it?
I would love to hear what those ideas are, because 270, though we're glad to get that 270, we'd like to see that go.
I'm very happy for any feedback we get. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, were all of the families and children who wanted to access the program accommodated, or were there places where there wasn't room? Was there a waiting list, or was anybody turned away?
Are you talking for ESY or summer programs?
Both.
ESY, no. Anyone that would have access to ESY would be allotted space in ESY. It is not negotiable that we don't have space. Sure. Right. For summer programs, I have yet to hear that any families were turned down. That's the reason why we made sure we hired staff for the partner districts.
It's good to know. It's good to know. Thank you. And then, you mentioned that there were, let's see, I don't know the word you used, student growth. Are you tracking student outcomes in these programs?
Yes, very, that was a very good question that you had asked earlier. So during ESY, what we produce in what we track is IEP goals and objectives. So students are there to maintain goals, not make progress, not lose progress. So what we use is that information to kind of move forward, provide that information to the teachers that are coming in at the beginning of the school year to make sure there isn't huge regressions or to mediate that regression. As far as tracking progress overall, no, we have not had a way of tracking district-wide,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
it does.
So we do
That's-
it on an individualized basis, and that information is shared both with families and progress reports, and then with the teachers coming in of how the students performed over summer.
So it's built into the IEP.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
I thought you were gonna.
I am. Was summer programming meant to be a long-term program?
It was not. It was not. It was something that we thought in order to kind of mitigate what was coming out of COVID. It was, I don't know if you guys remember way back then, but it was kind of, wow, what do we do? How do we support our families? How do we try to help gain skills, get kids back into routines? I'm not sure the hope of this program was to continue on for years and years and years. ESY, absolutely. We are going to continue ESY. We are mandated to do ESY, but USS was a temporary program or was started as a temporary
If I
program.
remember right from US. First of all, I think this is a great program, and if we have money, I hope we continue it.
Correct.
Except I also remember there is a group of attorneys in New York, if I remember right at that time, that were suing states and trying to enlist a number of people saying that their IEPs were not fulfilled because of COVID, and therefore they were suing districts. And they were asking other states to get involved. And this was also a way that we could short circuit that. I'm not telling you that's why we did it, but I remember that as being one of the issues at the time.
There are a lot of stories floating around. Yes, at that time. Yes.
I think it's an amazing program, especially the summer programming part. So it's full day. Because having full day word childcare, like, it almost dumbs it down. But to know that your special needs student has qualified people taking care of them till 2:30, 3:00.
2:30.
2:30. And then possibly if they're one of our 5 schools can get a bus ride curb to curb, if it's in their IEP.
Correct.
This
great.
amazing, amazing knowing that they are taken care of. I mean, that's a weight lifted. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, do I have a motion for 6.01 approval of consensual items?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So we'll go down to the action items, 8.01. Do I have a motion for 8.01 tax rate hearing for FY25?
So moved.
Second that.
And then are there any questions about it before we vote? No? Okay. Then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion for 8.02 first reading of board policies DBC?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any questions or concerns about this before we vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion for 8.03 first reading of board policies HA?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about HA? Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion for 8.04, the approved appointment of a committee to explore and recommend a school name change for the Juvenile Detention Center?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about this?
Yes.
Okay, so who needs?
Explain to me why a name change. I'm not disagreeing with it at all. I was just wondering why it's being done.
Absolutely. So when students attend juvenile detention school, they leave with records and those records follow them. So when I move from whether I am adjudicated or not, I move to another location with a file that says I've been a juvenile detention center. It's really doesn't allow for our students to have a fresh start.
Sounds like an excellent idea. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
All in favor for 8.04?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion for 8.05 bid and award approval?
So
Second. Any questions on this?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the, let's see, letter. I think it's the cafeteria renovation at North Tech, at the cost of $1.464.9 million. I know we are of course, we're looking at our finances. I know that we are also talking about looking at a long-term facilities plan. Could you talk to us about why this is being recommended at this point? And what would be the positives of doing this, and what would be what would happen if we didn't do this now? What would happen if we waited until we had a more comprehensive facilities plan?
Sure. So this was a project that was slated for this fiscal year. So it was built into the budget for this year. It's a project that's kind of twofold. So one piece is at North Tech, the entrance by the cafeteria is really our main student entrance in the afternoon. So buses drop off at that entrance and students enter through a courtyard. That courtyard was built in 1967. So it's been a minute since there a lot of TLC has happened in that space. So it's a concrete patio space. There's also an emergency exit that comes out of the gym that feeds down to that patio. That staircase that leads out right now has got some structural issues. And so we need to repair that. And in the process of repairing that concrete in the patio space as well, there were some very large trees that were there for a pretty long amount of time. Those trees have made it so it's very uneven. So especially if you have a student who's either on crutches or in a wheelchair or using other accessibility equipment, that entrance is really not an accessible entrance for them. And so we need to level off that patio and fix that staircase as well and make it so that staircase comes down to an appropriate landing there. And the second piece is as North Tech phased out the full day program. So how we had the full day program in the building, we had a standard cafeteria experience. The goal is that space now is really where students are going to start their day. It's the middle of the day. For a lot of students, it's also where they exit. And so having that become a student commons space, so it can become a place where students can be during those down periods. But the other piece is it becomes a flexible space that we can use as a meeting space. Currently, the only space we have at North Tech that can hold more than one classroom at a time is the library space. It's long, it's narrow, it's not super conducive for us to do large group activities. So for things like our career and technical student organizations, where we bring students from potentially every program in the building together, it creates a space for those meetings to take place. The other thing is a lot of our partnership activities where we want to bring students from a variety of courses. So take like our Boeing pre-employment program, where we're going to pull 5 students from this class and 10 students from this class and 8 students from there. We bring them all together to work with that business partner on site. Right now, the library is really only our space for that, and it's not quite big enough if you're doing any type of hands-on demonstration or those types of things. We really like its proximity to the outside because it allows us to move from an indoor space to an outside space. So when we have groups like Ameren and Inspire, a lot of their demonstrations either involve using their equipment or using their trucks or those types of things. And right now there's not a conducive way to move from indoor activity to outdoor activity and back to indoor. This would allow us to do that all in one space in a super visible space where we could pull in, especially those career exploration students potentially, where right now, because of space limitations, we haven't been able to pull them into some of these activities. And now we'd be able to do that by having a conducive space to allow us to do that. So really, it's going to become more of a meeting and partnership hub that doubles as a student commons that allows us to have a safe way for people to get in and out of the building. So kind of all those pieces all in one project.
I think also in addition to that, whenever we look at a remodel, this remodel will be able to have ADA requirements that will be brought up to code. And so when we look at those key pieces and moving forward, that's always a key sticking point for us in decision making.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. And there's a space on most of the forms that say whether or not they were included in the budget, and I didn't see that on this form.
I think this one was done before that form was updated is why it's not reflected there, but this was factored into the buildings improvement capital projects for FY 25.
Okay, so it's in our budget. It has safety
Mhm.
implications. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on 8.05? Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion on 8.06 ECSE Coalition Services Agreements for 2024 to 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on?
As I was reading the agreements, I went ahead and kind of looked at all of them. I just noticed there's a lot of variation from district to district, in terms of what's included and who's, who's signing them and all those sorts of things. That was one of my noticings. I just wanted to just, the answer was that these have been historically this way, and maybe someone wants to talk a little bit more about that. And then I'm also curious about our arrangement with some of the districts that are outside of St. Louis County. So those
Yes.
are my questions about that item.
So I think on October 8th, we have a work study, which is dedicated solely to early childhood. And so I'd like to be able to bring those pieces and to delve into those pieces a little more with the board, just around to get those questions answered anymore.
That would be just fine. Thank you.
Are you asking to hold approval until that meeting?
No, I'm not. No, I am not. I didn't know if I do want to ask that we talk more about these particular facets of this item in that meeting. It's not enough for me to withhold my approval of the agreements, but I was curious about how we got here and if this is the ideal spot for us.
Okay.
With having differences in the agreements. Yep.
Any other questions on 8.06? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion for 9.01 closed meeting of the Board of Education on Tuesday, September 24th, today, following this meeting, and Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Second.
We need a roll call, Tom.
Director Asner.
Yes.
Director Mueller. Yes. Director Sartorius.
Yes.
Director Suda.
Yes.
Director State.
Yes.
Vice President Cuneo.
Yes.
President Patra.
Yes. Do I have a motion for 9.02 approval of minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 9.03 executive meeting action items. The following items were approved during the executive meeting on August 27th, 2024. Employment resignations, retirements, salary adjustments, extra duty pay, 5 contract releases, 1 settlement authority, 2 side agreements. And the following were approved during the executive meeting on September 10th, 2024. Employment resignations, retirements, salary adjustments, extra duty pay, and 1 settlement authority. Next, we have board communications, and before I open it up to everyone else, I'd like to read something. Per board policy BBB, it has been confirmed that the Special School District's Board of Education will have 2 vacancies to fill. I shall not be seeking re-election to represent District 3 Parkway, nor will Director Mueller, who is currently serving for District 4, which serves Ferguson, Florissant, Pattonville, and Riverview Gardens. The board member qualification policy BBBA can be found on the SSD website under the policy section. Candidate filing will begin on December 10th. More information will be forthcoming, but interested candidates, and we welcome all, can contact Tom Giles at tgiles@ssdmo.org. Does anyone else have any board communications?
Yes. First off, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Ms. Mueller for your service. You will be missed, and I'm sure when you leave, we'll all have a chance to say that, but thank you for your service, and you will be missed. Second of all, trying to think of the correct words that are appropriate. I spent 2.5 hours last night on the Zoom on the governing council. I want to thank all of our staff that spoke. I thought you were succinct. I thought you handled yourself extremely well. And I thought your information that you provided was excellent. I was extremely impressed with Dr. Macklin. He handled himself with grace under pressure, and he didn't get upset, though some of the tones of the question were less than what I would think appropriate in a general meeting. I will say there were two things that were said that I think that since it was an open meeting, I would like to comment on in an open meeting. And the issues were that the questions were, why were there certain vacancies in North County? And there was a wide variety of reasons given, but the two major, there was one that was given that was inappropriate, that was not factual. They stated that people left, and I believe it, they said they left from one place in North County and they went to Parkway, 5 individuals, and that they did that and the money was the same. I'd like to say in a meeting that, I find it interesting. They have me in a meeting where I'm muted is brutal. Yeah, as you can say, I nearly broke a screen on my computer at that time because that is incorrect. Those individuals in North County were being paid $4,000 more to stay there. They chose to give up the $4,000 to go somewhere else. Now we can look at all kinds of reasons, and all kinds of reasons were given last night. But one reason was not given, and I would hope at some point that the governing council and the other districts take a look at that. And this is the culture of each of these schools. I think that would be extremely important. And as we're exploring a lot of the factors that go in, if we're truly going to be a partnership, we don't lay blame on anything. We look at all the factors, and I think this was one of the factors that needed to be explored. I wish I could have said that last night, but I don't think I would have said it that nicely. So I'm glad I can say it now. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Cooney. I will say that for me and my team who is here, really appreciate the comments. Again, I started our leadership team meeting this morning, thanking them for their comments and their hard work for those pieces. I believe at the end of the day, that if our focus stays on students and is driven by student need at the end of the day, then we will be a true partner, continue to be a true partner in those spaces and places. I strongly encourage individuals to take a look at really the all of the biggest picture when we're making decisions that are said in certain spaces and places. But again, I want to come back and thank you for your comments and echo the hard work of the individuals. It's not easy for anyone to be on a 2.5-hour meeting after a long day work. And so I appreciate those individuals and the work that they put in.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to just make 2 quick comments. I had the opportunity to attend the Parent Advisory Council last week with several other members of the staff here again. They're here again tonight. But also we have a new president of that organization, Crystal Lay, and I'd like to commend her for stepping forward as the president of the Parent Advisory Council and the parents that really are active supporting us every day. And so hats off to those folks, and we appreciate their involvement. The other opportunity I had was I was out and about in the community and ran across a couple of our employees, Amanda Peters and Kira Townsend, who were putting together a Special Olympics bocce ball tournament for Special Olympics at Lutheran South High School. And I think that's pretty great because we're in our partner districts quite a bit. We don't pull in the rest of the community. And what a great opportunity for these 2 employees to be out there bringing our kids to Lutheran South and giving those kids an experience that they'll never forget. So hats off to our people who are out there doing things every day to make a difference for the kids.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to jump in. It's been a challenging couple of weeks in our schools. There have been some hard days in some of my partner district schools. I'm on the St. Louis area school board, and first of all, I want to go back and commend those people who acted swiftly and really intervened to keep our students safe in what could have been a much worse situation. And we hope that we can really address this for the safety of our students and our staff and our community. It's a hard time. And then I am on the St. Louis area School Board Professional Learning Committee Planning Committee. My goodness. Did that make sense? Did it come out right? Those words ran together. I was not able to attend the meeting today, but I do see the recap, and they are planning to address school safety. And that is open to all school board members and superintendents. And that next meeting is going to be on December 7th.
Can you,
9 to 12.
do you mind expanding on what that is? I've not heard of that.
Yeah, so the St. Louis Area School Board Professional Learning Community is an opportunity. It's an ad hoc group. I was on the committee that got this started in 2017. We're trying to involve all school boards in St. Louis County, and it's an opportunity for us to come together and talk about shared interests and shared concerns that we have as school board members. It's a great way for us to learn from one another, best practices. It's a great way to brainstorm board culture and all of those things. So we've been having meetings twice a year for the past several years. And then there are breakouts that are dedicated to different topics as well. So, and I don't know if that has been getting to this board. I have not seen a lot of you there. I don't know why.
I don't think I've heard of it. To be honest with you.
Okay, my goodness, I will take that back to the committee. I mean, that's a huge oversight. So
I don't think that's ever been brought to our attention here. That's why I
I'm
asked.
glad you asked. I'm sorry, yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Is this a Zoom meeting or is this an in-person meeting?
This is in person, and we have someone who's tasked with putting the list together, and it's not somebody, anyway, we'll get back to that person. But it is in person, and it's just a great way for school board members to communicate with one another. We have Missouri School Board Association, but that's a little bit of a different animal, where we really were interested in getting school board members from the suburban and urban perspective together. So on behalf of the group, I am sorry that SSD somehow was not.
As I said, I am a
in the
fantastic
communication.
person on getting other people to work. Yeah. And here's what I would ask.
Yes.
Tom, would you mind getting the information to Tom? And Tom can get it to us. See, I see this way, I don't have to do anything yet. And we can find out the dates of when this is, and we can get us a representative or somebody to go. And besides you, I like this idea. I just didn't know it existed.
My goodness, I'm frankly, I'm embarrassed.
Don't be.
This board has
Yes,
not been receiving the communications. I don't know where the hiccup is, but we will take care of that right away.
Especially since we're one of the biggest school system in the biggest school district in the state of Missouri, clearly the biggest in the St. Louis area. Yeah, I'm glad you said something.
Me too. Get that right back to the committee.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other board communications? All right. Calendar events you can read online. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.